Well, dear students, now we are going to read and understand the poem. So let's get started with the reading and explanation of the poem. Stanza number 1. Blow, blow, thou winter wind. Blow, blow, thou winter wind. Thou art not so unkind as man's ingratitude. Thou means you. You are not so unkind, unkind which means harsh or cruel, as man's ingratitude. Ingratitude, lack of thankfulness. Thy tooth is not so keen. Your tooth, as you know, sharp, cold effect, and then keen, which means sharp, cold, biting. Because thou art not seen, thou means you, are not seen, seen, which means visible. Although thy breath be rude, thy means your breath here means wind, be rude, rude means rough or harsh. Hey ho, sing hey ho unto the green holly. So this is an expression of joy. Hey ho, which is an expression of joy. Most friendship is feigning, false, pretended. Then hey ho, sing the hey ho. Stanza number 1. Blow, blow, thou winter wind. Thou art not so unkind as man's ingratitude. Thy tooth is not so keen because thou art not seen, although thy breath be rude. The poet in the very first stanza acknowledges winter wind because of its coldness and asks the winter wind to keep on blowing. Why the poet is asking the winter wind to blow? Because it is not so unkind. Thou art means you are. Here, the poet personifies the unkind man or human ingratitude with the winter wind. The wind is personified as being capable of action and feeling, such as blowing and being unkind. So, the attributes of human beings are given to winter wind by suggesting that it lacks the malice found in human action. The poet then says, thou art not so unkind as man's ingratitude. Here the poet uses simile to compare the natural element like wind to human emotions. That winter wind is not so unkind as unthankfulness of human beings. As the poet says, thou art not so unkind as man's ingratitude. Here the poet basically compare the natural element with the winter wind by using the comparative word. And what is the comparative word? That is as. Thy tooth is not so keen, which means that the bite of winter wind is not so harsh or bitter or painful as of human beings, because the bite of winter wind only affects the outer skin of human body. It is an impersonal force of nature, whereas man's ingratitude is more painful or cutting than the bite of the cold winter wind. Again, the poet personifies the biting tooth with human beings. Painful attitude. What the poet says, thy tooth is not so keen because thou art not so seen. So, the biting tooth of the winter wind cannot be seen as the breath of the winter wind is so harsh and painful. So nobody can bear the rudeness, harshness and unkind man or human ingratitude or unthankfulness of man. So in contrast to winter wind of human and ingratitude, which is more cutting, more painful because it comes from someone we know and trust. Stanza number 1, which is continued over here. Hey ho, sing hey ho unto the green holly. Most friendship is feigning, and most loving mere folly. Then hey ho, the holly. So here the poet sings a chorus. Hey ho. Hey ho, basically it is an expression of joy. But here, hey ho, which is an expression of joy, here the poet basically expresses as a disappointment. Here the poet shows great disappointment or hopelessness. Why? Because because of the unkind man or human ingratitude, but someone cheerful attitude again and again. That is why the poet says that hey ho, sing hey ho unto the green holly, which is a European plant, evergreen plant, and stays green in winter. So the poet says that basically the poet says that whatever the situation is, the one need to be very cheerful, the one need to be very calm, because whatsoever is happening, the person must not feel that pain, because every situation can have an end. So whatever the situation is, one must bear it and sing a song. Basically, this song is a cheerful song, and the poet sings a chorus here, but it is an expression of disappointment here, because some word cheerful attitude is described, uh, but the poet is basically describing the human unkind kindness and human ingratitude. Again and again, the poet is inviting or acknowledges a winter wind to blow and asks to sing in praise of green holly. Blow, blow, thou winter wind, in praise of green holly, which is a European plant, and it is evergreen plant or shrub which has thorns, leaves as well. By describing the green holly, the poet talks about the pretending or false friendship, as friendship is feigning means that it is pretended. Most loving, mere folly, foolishness, which has no love or respect. So the poet says that most friendship is feigning, means false pretending. Therefore, he prefers to live with nature, as nature is not pretending or false. That is why the poet is again and again inviting the winter wind to blow, because it is not unkind, its attitude is not harsh. But the friendship, which is always feigning, means false pretending. Therefore, he prefers to live with nature, as nature is not pretending or false. Here, the poet also talk about love and says that most loving is mere folly. So, and then, hey ho, sing hey ho. Most friendship is feigning, most loving, mere folly. Then, hey ho, sing hey ho. The poet here talks about love and says that most loving, mere folly, foolishness. So love or respect we show for one another is mere foolishness. It would be foolish behavior to have such friendship. The green holly which stays green throughout the winter, the green holly which is a green shrub and it stays green throughout the winter, symbolizes consistency and resilience. The chorus hey ho sing ho implies that despite of disappointment of human relationship, one can still find joy in life's simple enduring aspect. Moreover, the chorus hey ho sing hey ho, the repetition adds to the song-like qualities of the poem, emphasizing the chronic cheerfulness. I hope that you have understood first stanza altogether.